Hello, Nasdaq followers. My name is Leanne Alfar. I'm producer and host here at Nasdaq. And joining me today on Trade Talks is Brian Reynolds, who is Vice President of Nasdaq IR Intelligence, joined by Rad Barnert, who's CEO of WeConvene. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So we know that WeConvene, we have recognized you as a clear market leader for corporate access, and there has been a profound Nasdaq and WeConvene partnership, which we'll elaborate in just a second. But to kick it off here, could you tell us about investor access, how it has evolved in the last few years?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different dynamics that have helped evolve the investor access landscape. And specifically, I'm thinking about from a regulatory perspective, there's things like MiFID II. But then there's also been changes across the landscape generally in terms of new corporate access desks popping up on the buy side. Both of those dynamics have had a pretty profound effect on our client base, the investor relations officer, asking them to do more and more on their own, typically with the same or limited resources.
And now you mentioned MiFID II. How has that impacted everything overall? Has it been faster than expected or right on par?
Sure, so I think it's been faster than expected. People talk about it not having a big impact, but the reality is you see it in the data, you see it in the conversations that it has had a big impact on the sell side. With that, it's had an impact on corporates, and there's also been, an equivalent reaction from the buy side in terms of doing more themselves. And so it's democratized the landscape a lot faster than I think a lot of people expected.
And the only thing I'd add to that is, interestingly, I don't know if we've felt the full impact as of yet.
No.
Especially when you move beyond Europe, however, you're starting to see more and more stories pop up here in the US. In Canada, there were a couple articles recently, so I still don't know if we're completely out of the woods.
So still more runway there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So how do IR professionals manage investor, sales side, and ad hoc engagements?
So today it kind of spans a couple different methods, and obviously it will vary from company to company, but on one hand you have direct engagement, right? So whether they're sending an email or doing a phone call, and then you also have things bank sponsored. So you could have non-deal roadshows, you could have conferences, you could have dinners. There's a variety of different ways that they interact, but because of having a variety of different ways to interact, clients are constantly, and all the corporate participants, our capital markets participants, are looking for a more efficient way of interacting.
And that's exactly what ConnectIR then addresses.
Absolutely, and that ability to interact with the various stakeholders in the capital markets was why WeConvene was such a natural partner for our ConnectIR technology. We were really focused on finding someone that was not only helping enable that engagement with the buy side, but then also equally important, how do they engage with the sell side as well?
And what types of engagement do IROs then have with the analysts and people on the sell side?
So every quarter, for example, a publicly listed company will have between 50 to 100 calls with both the sell side as well as the buy side. And it's a very manually organized process today, right? A lot of back and forth, a lot of emails. And so just that one event every quarter occupies a lot of time for IROs. But then there's all the other meetings that they do throughout the year, which some are engaged with the sell side directly. There are others that they're doing on their own. Analysts come and go in terms of their inquiries about the company's progress throughout the year. So when you add it all up, the way that it was done in the past, manually managed in the past, in disparate systems, so no one really knows who's doing what with whom, there had to be a better way of doing it. And so the sell side today would benefit from our partnership, the work that we're doing, because they have automated interactions or ways of setting up automated interactions with the IRO to make that whole process a lot more efficient. Everyone can just get on with their day and do the stuff that's more valuable.
Absolutely, and that time is money and time is a value.
Always.
So to have a service to streamline that is very important. And how can data help IROs make better decisions in relation to investor access?
Yeah, so if you think about the scheduling of the actual meeting or that meeting taking place, that's really half the battle. If you think about it in the context of who are you meeting with in the first place? Because to your point of time is money, if you're putting your executives in front of the wrong type of investor or spending time with the wrong type of analyst, time is money, you're losing that value. And there's been a variety of studies that say that it equates to approximately $50,000 per day if you put your executives in front of the wrong investors. So, we're thrilled about having that ability to make the process of scheduling more easy, but we think it's a perfect complement, and what excited us about the partnership in the first place, to have the Nasdaq intelligence at the front end helping you identify who are the right people you should be engaging out of the gate.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to hearing many more updates about how this is helping your organization. And thank you so much for joining us and talking to us a little bit more about the partnership.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Nasdaq followers, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Trade Talks. Stay tuned for a mid-market update.